everyone. My name is Cameron Weber. Welcome to another exciting edition of Hardfire Television on Brooklyn Free Speech Cable. With me today, I've got Derek Sacerdote.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Derek, for coming back on Hardfire. And today, directing, we've got Gary Popkin, the founder of the show. So today, what are we talking about today, Derek? Well, first of all, what do you do for a living, and what do you do for a living?
I'm non-traditionally employed. I'm a mixed handyman, mover, delivery guy.
You also do tutoring.
Yes,
right?
I'm a tutor too, math and science tutor.
Yeah, but you're right. And let's see. So Derek and I met. What? You were running for city council.
I was running for city council in 2009.
In 2009, and we met. I was active in the Libertarian Party then, and I guess we met at Gary Popkin's house when
Yes,
you came to get the endorsement from the Libertarian Party of Brooklyn.
Yes, that was it.
And then we also set up and got us going at the Atlantic Antic Street Festival.
Quite a few times, actually.
Quite, yeah.
We administered the smallest political quiz.
Yeah, we administer the world's smallest political quiz, and what did we find out there, Derek?
We found out more than 50% of people who take the quiz are closeted libertarians.
Right, meaning stay out of my bedroom and stay out of my pocketbook.
And medicine cabinet.
And stay out of my medicine cabinet. And okay, very good, very good. And so today we're talking about how to fight New York City parking tickets, right?
Yes, a pastime of mine.
Right. And so how did you get interested in New York City parking tickets, Derek?
Well, about 15 years ago, I bought a house, and I was living in an apartment, and I was paying my rent and also piling up money for my down payment, and I had 3 vehicles. I had my truck that I used for work and 2 of my cars.
Yeah.
And in order to save money, I took all of the plates off my car and canceled my insurance.
Right.
So in the meantime, I accumulated in that 2 or 3 months, I don't know, a stack about this thick of parking tickets.
Let me ask as an aside. You also you fix up automobiles, right? You
Yes.
like a certain type of interesting car.
I like older. I like vintage.
Yeah.
Vintage Japanese cars. Yes.
Vintage Japanese cars. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you got the stack of tickets.
That thick. It took me 7 or 8 years to clear my record.
In Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, all in Brooklyn, yes.
Yeah.
Because I simply, once they see you violating something, once they recognize your car, they hit you.
Yeah.
You become an easy target.
Kicking you while you're down.
Exactly.
Right.
And you understand why the tickets are priced as they are. Because if they were extremely high, like $10,000, nobody would park illegally.
Yeah. That's called price discrimination. You try to hit a point to where you can maximize your revenue.
Yeah, inconvenience, but not actually stop us from breaking the law.
Right, inconvenience, yeah. So I wanted to tell at this point my parking ticket story where I live in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And
lovely area.
It is a lovely area. A low to moderate income neighborhood, as we say. And along the park is a nice wide sidewalk with trees, beautiful trees. And so the trees break up the sidewalk, and when I moved in the neighborhood, there was about 6 or 8 motorcycles parked along the part of the sidewalk, not where pedestrians were, but where the trees were, right? So people would park their bikes not in anybody's way, but we would have all these bikes parked there for a number of years. And then all of a sudden, some Sunday, they come along and they ticket all the bikes.
Were you obstructing a major parade or something?
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. And it
Street fair?
Nothing. And it was way after on a Sunday, of course, so it's overtime. And so boom, they give us the tickets, and now there's no motorcycles in the neighborhood anymore because you can't park your bikes on the sidewalk anymore. So they got rid of the motorcycles.
So in other words, they
and so then I had to put my bike on the street and move it back and forth for street cleaning, and wouldn't ride it enough. So eventually the generator dies, and there goes the bike. So that's my pet peeve about parking tickets. Yeah.
So in other words, you were moving it sometimes when you weren't even using it.
Right.
Yeah, I find that too. I find a city that is supposedly looking to be clean and green.
Clean and green, yeah.
Why is it encouraging people to move their cars on days they maybe wouldn't even use them, just to juggle them back and forth for alternate side parking?
Because a source of parking tickets, perhaps?
I suppose so. I suppose so. I mean, imagine if we didn't have street sweepers. Imagine how we'd be waist deep in garbage if we didn't have to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, people would have the incentive to clean up their own neighborhoods
Actually
anyway.
sweep their own street.
Yeah, yeah. But first, I wanted to also say that in New York City, New York City gets about $500 million a year in parking tickets. $500 million a year in parking tickets. That's big business. And it grows at about 10% a year.
Amazing.
Which is 3 times the rate of inflation, if you can believe inflation.
So it's a good investment.
In what?
Collecting parking tickets.
Yeah, it's a good business for the city, I guess. Well, it's less than 1% of the city's budget, but it's still $500 million. So yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. So anyway, so you got this big stack of tickets, and it took you 6 or 8 years to clear your name.
To fully expunge my record. I mean, there were tickets which I won on appeal, and even though I won on appeal, just to get my refunds, years back and forth, because I had moved at that point, and they were sending refunds back to the wrong address over and over and over and over again. Even though I emailed them or wrote them.
How did you? I guess you're going to get into how did you win on appeal your parking ticket battle with the city?
Well, you provide more information. You provide information that maybe they didn't understand the first time. You clarify yourself, clarify your statement, your defense.
So you're pretty much a specialist on how to fight New York City parking tickets, and you wanted me to mention that you would be happy to help other people.
Oh, of course. You could,
do you want to give us your email?
Yes, my email is DerekSacerdote numeral 1 at gmail.com. DerekSacerdote 1 at gmail.com.
Derek Sacerdote 1 at gmail.com, and Derek will help you fight your parking tickets.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure. You were saying, Cameron, that you actually saw that people changed their lifestyle habits because of the parking tickets.
Yeah.
They stopped having or owning bikes.
Right. So now they substitute into walking or public transportation or cars.
Or car, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, which is even worse for the streets.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So tell us, Derek, how do you fight New York City parking tickets?
Well, my strategy is kind of like their strategy. What do parking agents? What's the politically correct name for them again? They're not meter maids.
Parking officers.
Parking officers.
Parking professionals.
Yeah, I don't know what the politically correct term
Ticket
is.
masters.
Ticket masters.
Yeah.
I do what they do. I mean, they.
Law enforcement officers.
Yes, law enforcement officers. Administrative law enforcement officers.
Administrative, yes.
They look for people who might have made a mistake. They look for areas where maybe somebody ran out of time or forgot what they're doing, or a common error. They catch you.
The law enforcement.
Yes,
the
that's what they're looking for. Looking for maybe an area.
Weaknesses.
Yes, a place, for example, if there's a parking area outside a place where you might get caught on a long line, they're going to accumulate there. And so they, like DMV, for example, is a great place to go because you might get caught inside DMV online and you can't get back in. So they accumulate in areas where they know you might make a mistake or get caught or can't juggle the situation. So they catch you, and that's my philosophy too.
And DMV are also administrative law enforcement officials.
Yes, of the different kind, yeah.
Right,
yes,
right. So one hand washes the other.
Exactly, but they never cleaned.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So how to fight New York City parking tickets?
You basically have the philosophy of any defect, any mistake they make, you hammer away at it. Anything they do wrong, you find it. So
you brought a
I brought a sample.
Yeah.
Luckily, I got people. They see these, they get so angry.
Yeah.
They get so angry.
Yeah. How do we appease the initial anger? By pleading innocent initially,
well,
right?
You plead not guilty. You can drag this out for a very long time.
Right.
And even if you eventually are found guilty, think of all the people who had to get paid, and all the money the city wasted, and you have still the same fine ultimately. Maybe if they made a profit off you, maybe minimal at that point. I was in the subway once.
The state doesn't make profits. They just extract revenues.
Right.
Profits are made in exchange
for goods and services.
Yes. Through the market. Yeah.
Well, there's no revenue to gain. There's no net gain because they've lost all the revenue fighting me for all these months or years, paying the judges, for example.
Yeah.
I met a judge on a subway once. I saw he was wearing an administrative law name tag, and I was, the subway was he was ALJ. So I had my bicycle in the subway, and I was just, the subway was stopped on a delay, and I was talking to the guy, and
stopped on a delay.
Yes,
right,
yes,
right.
and I said
you can't ride your motorcycle, so you have to take the subway on.
Right.
Stopped on.
I had so many parking tickets I wasn't driving, so I had my cars off the street because I didn't want them to be confiscated. So I started speaking to the guys. I said, "Administrative law, aren't you the guys who do parking tickets?" And he nodded. I guess he was captive. He couldn't go anywhere. And I say, I have, I've dealt with lots of them. I've won some, I've lost some. And he looked at me and he saw the bike. He says, well, this is the intended result. He
Social engineering.
Yes, he saw his role, the city's role, as to inconvenience me into changing my lifestyle habits.
Well, it worked for me.
It worked for a while. Yeah, it worked for a while.
Yeah. You do ride your bicycle.
I ride anyway. That's how I ride most of the time anyway. Most of the time when I get tickets, it's when I have my cars parked up and I'm not even using them.
Right.
So here's a sample parking ticket. There's so many fields on here, so many chances to be defective. Right.
So Derek's talking now specifically on how you can fight parking tickets.
So we'll look right here. We'll have the plate. Now look at the plate very carefully. Make sure the plate is your car. Make sure it is your plate. Right. In the old days, they were handwritten, and you could play around with penmanship. Now they're almost all printed, so you don't have a penmanship issue.
And you told me that these things are waterproof. Right?
They're waterproof. Yeah.
So you can't plead.
You can't claim that are wiped off, or you couldn't read it, because either way they're online as backup anyway, so you can't go with that.
Yeah. And remember, this is a $500 million a year industry. So
so they know what they're doing. Yeah. So make sure it's the correct plate. Right. Don't send in money when it's someone else's car or a non-existing car. Sometimes they'll simply type in a 2 instead of a 3. Right. And they don't even have to answer it. It's not you. You don't have to say it's not my car. It's not no attachment to you. Don't even go any further. Yeah. Make sure the state is correct.
And how much is this for?
This one is $115. Wow. But I won't be paying anything. I'll explain to you how.
$115.
$115, yeah. So make sure it's you. Make sure the state is correct. A lot of times they'll type New York, New Jersey almost by rote because they're so used to it. But if you have an out-of-state car, maybe they do the code wrong. Like an exotic state, like Montana, they may not know the abbreviation and they write the wrong thing. So make sure out-of-state plates, you have an easier time because they don't know what they're supposed to have. The make of the car.
There's not a lot of incentive to be really meticulous when you're writing parking tickets all the time.
I think
is there a quota, you think? I don't know.
The non-existing quota?
Oh, it's a non-existent.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Although in Dunkin' Donuts, I heard them chatting about
part of your research.
Yes, about how happy they were to have gotten a good station. A major commercial area, major shopping area.
Right.
But I don't know why they would care since there's no quota.
No incentive. Right.
So make sure the plate type is correct. Again, if you're in New York State registered vehicle, the plate type is easy because they know how New York State plate types look.
Yeah. Okay.
Out-of-state vehicles, they have all different plate types. They're not familiar with them, different codes. So you're better off. Out-of-state plate, you can confuse them. They're not really aware of how they're supposed to look or what the coding is. Pennsylvania, for example, like a SUV or van, will say truck. They might think that's commercial. It's not. Although, if you want to park in a commercial area, it might be good to think that they think it's commercial because they don't really understand some of the out-of-state rules. Some of the out-of-state codes they're confused by them. So that can be helpful.
Sure.
The make of the car.
Right.
A lot of time, if you paint over your car yourself or do some body work, you can paint over the make of the car or take off the insignia so they don't see that. They might put the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Something that's not.
So if anything is wrong there.
Well, if there are minor errors and more fatal errors. Some of the errors are more minor. You have to have 2 or 3 of them to get it. Some other errors are more fatal, like the body type. If they put van and it's a truck, or pickup and a van is not the same thing. Those are 2 different classifications. So you have to be very clear what kind of the right van. Or, you have to be very careful. A Suburban versus a sedan or hatchback. These are all different categories, and they don't know all these things, right? The minutia. Then you get into the ruling. Now this ticket, I had stopped. I was doing a job. I was picking up something in Midtown. I was on East 23rd Street and 5th Avenue. Very hard place to park.
In Midtown.
Yeah. For a regular person with a regular car. You can't just park and run into a store for 5 minutes. But I did.
You did.
But I did. And I come out. I was in there for maybe 10 seconds. I see the guy roll up. Once I came outside, he said, just go back, do what you're doing. I'm riding anyway. So he writes, place of occurrence, opposite 28 East 23rd Street. right?
Even though they weren't done with the ticket,
Well,
you were in there
no,
for
he
10
hadn't
seconds.
even just took the thing out of his pocket. He hadn't even, yeah. He said, just go back, there's no point.
No
So-
quotas, though.
No quotas, no.
No quotas.
It says, no standing commercial meter zone, everything except Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
9:01 a.m., February 21st. $115. It just looks like hard as a rock. Like, what could you, what would you do here?
You can't fight City Hall. Yeah, what can you do?
What would
just
you do here?
acquiesce.
Well, what would you do? I mean, most people would see this and they'd tear it up. They get angry, have a fit, go on Facebook and say something angry. But I mean, what would you? I mean, you gotta look at it carefully.
Start with pleading not guilty. Don't
of course,
get angry.
always not guilty.
Don't get angry. Start with the presumption of innocence.
But why am I not guilty?
Why are you
Why am I
not
not
guilty
guilty?
in this particular?
I mean, it looks pretty tight. Any idea what could be wrong with this?
Timing.
No, it was 9:01 a.m. It was in effect every day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I'm not sure, Derek.
Well, he wrote that I was opposite 28 East 23rd Street. I was opposite 28 West 23rd Street, 5th Avenue West and East Change. Of course, how does he know where I am? I can't go to court and say I was there. The cop is going to say I was there. I can't say I was somewhere else. I can't. His word is worth more than mine. But I'm just going to go with what he said. He's right. I was opposite 28 East 23rd Street. But I took a walk the next block since my car was already parked there.
And you already had the ticket.
Yeah, I might as well leave
Even
the car
though you're
there
ready
all day.
to move it anyway.
I was there all day. And I went to the next block, and sure enough, opposite 28 East 23rd Street, which was a like some kind of Mexican restaurant, a little small one.
Yeah, I know that neighborhood.
Opposite that was a bus stop, one of those big, commuter bus.
Yeah.
And the parking regulation was not this; it was something completely different. It was like a bus stop. So of course I was.
So the ruling is incorrect.
Right. It was the complete wrong law.
The
So
ruling.
I was.
Show us where the ruling is.
So it says in violation of New York City traffic
right
rules.
Right in the middle there.
Section. It says no standing commercial meter zone. So, I was where he said I was. I went over there and I was there, but I wasn't breaking that law.
Right.
He should have indicated the law I was breaking, which is parking the bus stop.
Right.
And that makes this ticket totally defective.
And so you found a fatal error.
That is a fatal error.
And so how then, once you find a fatal error, what do you do?
Well, you go to the location, take a few pictures with your phone or your camera. Make sure that in the picture it's obvious that you are at the location. Make sure you take a few angles so they can see it's that street, and they can see the building and the address, and they can verify on Google Maps or that it's that location. So because then they won't do any background research. You have to prove that that's the place that you're taking pictures. You can't try and hide it. Make sure it's obvious in the picture where you are.
Be honest.
Yeah.
You're being honest.
Yeah. You can highlight in the picture the areas that you need to circle the signs, the stores, the addresses, the street signs, and indicate that law was not in effect. There was no signs of that effect in that location. The ticket is therefore defective.
How to fight New York City parking tickets with Derek Sacerdote. And Derek said he'd be interested in helping you out.
Of course.
And so we'll run his email address underneath the screen and show it in the closing credits. And so keep going. Help show us more of what we can do.
Okay.
Other examples of how to fight the tickets.
Okay. There was one time I got a ticket.
And you do it over the internet.
Of course, you don't have to. I went in person one time.
You can upload pictures.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's free.
Really?
The instructions are on back. You plead not guilty. You can upload it. It's kind of tricky because you can only upload a certain number of megabytes. So you have to make sure you have to compress pictures at times because if your pictures are too large, they won't take them. So take a few pictures, compress them to I think it's 5 megabytes.
Okay.
Is the maximum. So. You can do it within 5 minutes. Give a clear, brief explanation of what
save 5 minutes to save $115.
Oh yeah, definitely. What was I saying again?
How to fight New York City parking
the crosswalk. So I got a ticket for a crosswalk.
Oh yeah, give us some more examples. Yeah.
So always research what these things are. These words, these definitions. I got a ticket for parking in a crosswalk.
Parking in a crosswalk.
So I went back to the location where I was parked, and it was a corner.
It was a corner.
It was a street corner, and there were people would cross at that place. But was it a crosswalk?
How do you?
So I had to. You have to. All these words legally have a definition.
Right.
And the strength and the weakness is in the specificity of the definition. So I looked up crosswalk, and according to the state of New York, a crosswalk has to either have ramps that lead from the sidewalk and the street and have a corresponding ramp on the other side of the corner, and or the white white line with the perpendicular markings for walking.
Or what about that switch where you press and it goes wait? Wait.
I don't think that would be enough.
Oh,
I think you have to have either a pedestrian ramp.
For the
or a marked delineated white striped crosswalk. And this location, people did cross there. It was the place I was parked adjacent to. It was like a little garden, and there was not really a full sidewalk. And as such, there was neither a ramp nor marking. So I took some pictures from various angles, and I told the judge, I said, this is not a crosswalk.
But were you in the way of traffic, or it was just like a technical thing?
It was like a corner on any other street.
Yeah.
But it did not have the specific crosswalk indications. It was a corner that, because it had a garden and it was not a full block. It did not have the full complement of paraphernalia that goes along with a real crosswalk.
Were you disrupting traffic flows or
no? Nothing at all.
Right.
It was a it was a corner that did not qualify as a cross. People did walk there, but they were walking. They were walking not an illegal crosswalk.
And you can get moving violation tickets if you run a red light on your bicycle.
That's happened to me. That happens to me too.
And
that's a whole other story. Yes.
That's a whole other story. Yes, it happened. Right. So give us other. So how many tickets around have you fought? And how many have you won?
My win rate has gone up. I think I've won about 60% of all the tickets that I have gotten. Probably hundreds. Hundreds.
I mean, 60% win rate. So
win rate, yes.
Start with don't immediately pay the ticket.
Never pay.
Look at it. Go through the details, and then if you find something technically wrong, a fatal flaw, then you can fight it easily. If they have the wrong license plate, then immediately don't even acknowledge that it's you. Don't even acknowledge it. And so give us other examples of how to fight the ticket. Keep going on there.
Okay.
Or are you done?
That's all I have for here. But also when you do win, sometimes because the judges are bound to uphold the law, if you provide information but maybe your explanation was not sufficient, you may still get the ticket dismissed, and they will give you some hint in their explanation of why it is that you won, that it was dismissed.
If you appear before a judge? No,
when you do it online, you get an email back, and they will respond to you.
Okay.
Always read.
A judge responds to you?
Yes, ALJ, Administrative Law Judge, will respond to you, and they'll sign it. So read what they wrote.
Right.
Because in their explanation, there are clues. They'll say, even if you lose, they'll say insufficient, and they'll give some explanation.
Right.
Always read what they say.
Do you find that the ALJs are becoming more lenient or less lenient, or
I think I'm just getting better at it. So I think they're more or less the same. I think I've gotten more savvy to how they think and how the law works.
Yeah. So we only have a couple minutes left. I remember when we talked about this before, is that you said that there's some kind of discrimination involved in terms of how the parking tickets are priced. In other words, if you want to go visit somebody on the Upper East Side, you have to pay more than if you want to visit somebody in Sunset Park. How does that work?
Or do business. Like let's say you want to run a small business. Let's say you have like a van.
Yeah.
And you do small moving or some little handyman work, and you have a little truck.
Right.
If you want to get in as a little guy.
Yeah.
And work in a nice, expensive neighborhood where you can earn hundreds of dollars per hour.
Right.
You can't legally park there with ease.
Right.
It's a challenge.
Well, the law is to help the wealthy.
Yeah, or it's also to help the very established business over the newer business.
Sure. Those that have more money for campaigns, for example.
Right, and an established business can afford a few hundred parking tickets a month, whereas someone who only makes $200 a day cannot afford that. So it keeps the big established outfits they've given an advantage over a small guy trying to break in.
Right.
If I'm gonna get a ticket that's gonna wipe out my entire day's pay,
Right.
I'm not even gonna
do business there.
Right. I'm not gonna bother.
Right,
I can work on the fringes maybe, but
Right.
not in Midtown or in a nicer area. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, very discriminatory. It keeps you even from socializing, as you said.
Right.
If I want to socialize in a nicer neighborhood, it's much more difficult for me because the prospect of a ticket would wipe me out.
Yeah.
Whereas I want to socialize in the fringe of town, that's a whole different story. Fringe of town is usually not more fun anyway, but that's another story.
Causing more pollution. And it isn't the city, well, at least one of my pet peeves is the mayor's office of media and television, where they pay, everyone pays New York City sales tax, and then the mayor's office then uses that sales tax money to get wealthy Hollywood producers to come and block our streets with their film production and television production, right?
Those long vans.
Yeah, the long vans that take up blocks and blocks and hire labor union labor. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it does cost twice as much as the average American income. Labor union workers make twice as much. So the city itself is perhaps one of the largest obstructors of traffic.
Oh, of course, without a doubt.
Yeah. So, we should wrap it up. Any last words you'd like to tell our audience?
Don't go down without a fight. That's it. Plead not guilty. If you're found guilty, appeal. Take it as far always appeal. As far as you can go.
How about going before a judge, or is that not worth the time?
It's not worth the time.
No.
I mean, you have to make an appointment. You have to go in person. It's not worth the time.
Yeah.
Do it online.
All right. So, Derek Sacerdote, thank you for joining us on Hardfire Television. I've been your host, Cameron Weber. And if you have a parking ticket and you'd like Derek's help, you're there.
Anytime.
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 Social engineering. Social